It is the second most powerful dark presence to ever roam the lands of Middle-earth post the First Age. The chief lieutenant of Morgoth during his ruthless campaign across Arda, and the mightiest of the ethereal divine beings known as the Maya. Today, we journey into the depths of Unfoulgleaf. We look at the pits of Orodruin, venture into the land of Mordor, and look into the cracks of Mount Doom and the fire and lava that emanates from it. Sauron, the eponymous Lord of the Rings, was the greatest subservient Maya, the maker of the One Ring, renowned student of the Valar Al-Lay the Smith, and the most trusted lieutenant of Morgoth, the first dark entity in all of Middle-earth. After Morgoth's ousting by the Valar, Sauron became the second Dark Lord and sought to conquer Middle-earth, and even Numenor through guileful trickery, the chief representation of which were the Rings of Power, or overwhelming legions. At the end of the Second Age, Sauron was defeated in the War of the Last Alliance, with the participants of this battle including elves and men, uniting under the banner of Gil-galad and Elendil, Gil-galad being the current High King of the Noldor, and Elendil being the King of Gondor. In the final battle, Isildur managed to cut the One Ring from him, dismantling Sauron's corporeal form and ridding him of much of his power. After centuries of lying dormant, rebuilding and replenishing his strength, and stirring awake evil creatures, Sauron returned to power late in the Third Age, but was permanently crippled in the War of the Ring, after the destruction of the One Ring and the fires of Mount Doom by Frodo Baggins and Gollum. His spirit was claimed by the Void and the Gates of Night. To the Sindar of Beleriand, Sauron was known as Gorthon in the First Age. But how powerful is this Maya, and one of the most powerful beings in all of fiction? And why is Sauron possibly more powerful than Morgoth in his prime than Morgoth was at the end of the historic First Age and the War of Wrath? Now, my friends, let us proceed, stewards of Middle-earth, and wizards from the Grey Havens, and let us venture into Mordor, the Black Land, and truly deduce how powerful Sauron truly was. There is a quote from the Silmarillion I would like to turn our attention to here, from Akallabeth. This quote is honestly my favourite about Sauron, and truly gives a depiction of his rule and what he was going to do in the Second Age. The quote goes as follows: "Now Sauron's lust and pride increased, until he knew no bounds, and he determined to make himself master of all things in Middle-earth, and to destroy the elves, and to compass, if he might, the downfall of Numenor. He brooked no freedom nor any rivalry, and he named himself Lord of the Earth, a mask he still could wear, so that if he wished he might deceive the eyes of men, seeming to them wise and fair, but he ruled rather by force and fear. If they might avail, and those who perceived his shadow spreading over the world called him the Dark Lord, and named him the enemy, and he gathered under his government all the evil things of the days of Morgoth that remained on the earth or beneath it, and the orcs were at his command, and multiplied like flies." Now, let's turn our attention to the powers we see displayed in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. Sauron was considered by many to be among the mightiest of the Maya, if not the most powerful, as he was stated that the second most powerful, Gandalf, could never defeat Sauron in single combat. Originally of Aulay's people, he acquired great scientific knowledge of the world's many substances and how to use them, becoming one of the greatest crafters in all of Middle-earthen history. He would retain this knowledge throughout his reign as the Dark Lord of Middle-earth, using it to forge the One Ring of Barad-dûr and construct his fortress of Barad-dûr itself. Sauron also seemed primarily linked to his use of fire, and as Morgoth's chief lieutenant, his ability to tap into the fires of the earth was of great value to his master. Among Sauron's chief powers were deception and disguise. In the First Age, Sauron took on many forms. During his battle against Luthien and Huan in the Silmarillion, he took on no less than 4 separate shapes. His normal shape, some kind of terrible dark sorcerer we can see depicted in the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, a great wolf, stated to be the greatest in all of Middle-earth, a serpent, and finally a vampire, dripping blood from his throat upon the trees of Beren and Luthien, the Silmarillion. At the end of the First Age, Sauron took on a fair form to appeal to the captain of the host of the Valar and ask for pardon. In the Second Age, Sauron took up that fair form again and used it under the aliases Anatar, the Lord of Gis, to deceive the elves into forging the rings of power. However, elves like Gil-galad and Galadriel would not trust him, nor would Elrond. However, the great elven smith Celebrimbor would welcome him with open arms and his knowledge. The level of deception required to fool the elves of Eregion must have gone beyond simply taking on a fair form, as Sauron was literally instructing the elves to make artifacts that, while capable of great good, were ultimately poised for his own domination and destruction, and were imbued with the destructive innate power to arrest the natural order of the world. Yet the elves were unaware of who they were dealing with until the 11th hour, and only narrowly escaped his schemes. Centuries later, Sauron was able to deceive the Númenóreans and steer them directly towards their own destruction under promises of eternal life. Such destruction is a testament to Sauron's masterful manipulative ability and nature, comparable to even Emperor Palpatine himself from the Star Wars franchise, as well as his ability to twist the perceptions of his enemies. He was a great teacher in the ways of magic and alchemy, able to offer training in necromancy and other arts and ways of sorcery. An interesting dichotomy is set up between his deceptive nature and his symbol. While rarely appearing personally and deceiving all, but most wary, he represented himself as an all-seeing eye that could pierce all disguises and invade the minds of others themselves. The extent, nature, and specifics of Sauron's immense capable power are largely left to imagination. Like Morgoth, he was capable of altering the physical substance of the world around him by mere effort of will. Though he rarely stopped to engage in combat himself, Sauron could be a fearsome and nigh unstoppable opponent on the battlefield. He was able to easily slay Elendil and Gil-galad single-handedly, though the duel left him weakened and prone to attack. The mere touch of his hand could inflict fatal burns, as what occurred to Gil-galad during the final battle in the War of the Last Alliance. Well, my stewards of Middle-earth, kings of Gondor, and stewards of Númenor, what did you think of this video? Be sure to be wary of the orcs of the Misty Mountains, and the cave trolls that dwell along there as well. Be sure to keep a watchful eye out for any Balrogs that will remain hidden in Middle-earth. And I'll see you next time, stewards of Middle-earth. And I hope that I see you walking across the plains of Arda once again.